Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. Tonight, I decided to dig into my safe box and pull out a story. This one, it have some strange encounters. Um, it's about faith. The positive part of the story is faith, trusting God, resilience, strength, believe in oneself, know yourself, and deliverance from God, trusting Him to deliver you always. It has a few elements, so I will start. But before I get to the actual point, I'll go back a bit just to bring everything in together. Now, this story, plain and simple, it is about deliverance. It's about God. It's about how God delivered me from the hands of our village obeah man, of my village obeah man. Some people call it a different name. Some call it diviner, some people call it voodoo, some people call it the occult, some people call it witchcraft, some people call it, in some village it's called like a native priest, different names. But in my country, a person that practice this type of craft, we call him or her, plain and simple, the obeah man. Could be an obeah woman or an obeah man. In my country, I can't recall we use the word voodoo or witchcraft or, all fall under same, similar thing or same, but in every country they may have a name for certain people. And in my country, growing up at the time, maybe things have changed because of enlightenment, but at the time, so I'll refer to how we refer to him back then as a child growing up, the obeah man. And this was a man who lived in my village, the village that I grew up in. And the unfortunate, or some people look at it cool, but to me, because something happened to me, the unfortunate aspect was that he was my neighbor. And when I say neighbor, I'm not talking about a neighbor a few doors away or a block away or maybe up the street or down the street or up the road. No, this was my next door neighbor. We shared the same boundaries, land boundary. We shared the same fence line. We walked the same path to go to the main road. He was our next door, my next door neighbor. In order for me to walk, to go to the main road, to move around, to go someplace, I would have to walk past his house, his front yard, or his front entrance. There was a road, a little track, but I have to walk in that track and pass his house to get to where I'm going. Now, growing up, my family and this man had no issue. My family is a Christian family, and he does his thing, and we never had issues. We give respect to each other and never, From what I gather, it's alleged that this man, his craft seems to have passed down to him. His father and grandfather and maybe generation back practiced this, and so further up in the village, I remember we called his father lived in another area in the village. I remember sometime when, as a kid, walking past his house, his father's house, there was always this element of fear and caution not to even look inside the property or inside of don't look at the house, don't look at anything. Keep your eyes straight because this man does certain things. And so there was always this element of fear surrounding him and the area that he lived. Every time that I had encounter with him, like seeing him, um, I always felt a bit fearful because his countenance, looking on his countenance, he just give you a sort of mysticism and element of nervousness or fear, as a child, and, people telling you this and telling you that. So, not as an adult, of course, but as a child, you grow up hearing about, different things. Let's say, for instance, you grow up hearing about zombie stories, then walking past an area, you get scared because there's zombie stories, so that type of thing. Now his son, now, who is his son, he's not a young man, this was an old man. So when I encountered the father, he probably was maybe 90 something or so, and maybe older, I don't know, he looked like he was ancient. And the son now seems to have been could be in his 70s, 80s, somewhere around there. Anyway, he was our neighbor, had no issue with him. But I think the issue started developing as I grew into a teenager. In my teenage years, he started to focus unwanted attention upon me. And he used intimidation to try to get to me. He was well known, and it seems as if people came from all over. People traveled from different islands, countries, and came to visit him. I remember one time I asked a question because every day you see strange people coming in and out of this place. And so I think out of curiosity, I asked a question and someone told me, well, sometimes when people are traveling, let's say they are traveling to the US or certain countries that have difficulties getting entrance because of visas, they come to this man, and whatever he does, these people will now get to entrance into the country that they were going. So before they travel out, they'll come to him, and whatever he does, people with different issues, they came, and I don't know if it worked or not, but it was alleged. So now he's doing his thing over there, but he started focusing some unwanted and undesired attention towards me, to a point that it's like he knew, or not new, but I think he was seeing me coming because we are neighbors. Maybe he stalked me. But every time I came out of my premises and I'm heading towards the road, the main road, so I can get maybe going where I'm going. It could be school, somewhere. He'll come out and he'll stand in the middle of the road where I have to walk. And this is not a broad road, this is a track. So in order to pass, I will have to pass him. And when I come up to him, he would look at me. I would say good morning. I'm always polite. Good morning or good afternoon. He would just look at me and say, I must get you. And I would say to him, never. And that was a thing for him. Every time he see me, he would say to me, I must get you. And I would say to him, never.